Those two selections were, well, the first one was the theme from The Magician. The second one was from my album Threshold, and features Brandy Ortiz on the vocal and Tom Scott again on the saxophone towards the end of the tune. And for those of you who are just joining us, my name is Pat Williams, and I'm the guest host tonight on Spotlight on the Star and your KCSN on your dial. I hope you'll stay with us. For the next 45 minutes or so, we'll have some music of mine. I'm a television and film composer. And we'll also have a few moments from a dear friend of mine and a marvelous musician, Mr. Tom Scott. Tom, if some of you, I don't know how you could possibly not be familiar with his work at this point, because his album is a smash, but he plays about 7 instruments, for those of you who aren't intimately acquainted with him. He's most renowned right now for his work on the tenor sax, but he is a fine flute player. He plays alto flute, of course all the flute family, including nose flute, which is something that he came up with. He plays Lyricon, which is a synthesizer, which looks something like, resembles a clarinet, but it's completely made out of metal, and it works as a synthesizer. In other words, when you put air into it, it activates all the dials and stuff. And I'm no electronic wizard on how that thing all happens, but gets some very interesting sounds. He also plays the entire clarinet family, bass clarinet, and of course fine legitimate clarinet. He went to USC for a little while and has a very wide range to his musical abilities. At any rate, without getting too gabby here, I'd like you to hear, for those of you who haven't, here's a title cut from Tom Scott's new album, Tom and the LA Express. This tune, I believe, is written by Max Bennett. It's the title tune of the album. This is Tomcat. You know, for family fun, the most patriotic of all American holidays, the 4th of July, why don't you go to Pasadena and take in the 51st Annual Rose Bowl Circus and Fireworks Show? It's an official American Revolution bicentennial event. Thank you for the lights. A little hard to read in the dark in here. Anyway, it's the official American Revolutional. Now I can't read it at all. Revolutional bicentennial event in the City of Roses, and the theme is Our America. Enjoy the world-famous acts of The Big Top is presented by the Pollock Brothers. Circus, lions, elephants, prancing ring horses. I got to get my kids to this. And the merry-making chimpanzees. Highlighting climax will be the nation's biggest fireworks show. That sounds good. For those of you who are just joining us, I might tell you where you're at. You're at KCSN Radio in the Valley, and my name is Pat Williams. I'm the guest host tonight on Spotlight of a Star, with a Star. Which is it, Dave? On a Star, okay. And I'm a composer and arranger by trade, and I'm fortunate enough to have the opportunity to play quite a bit of my things for you tonight, as well as we're featuring some music by my friend and colleague Tom Scott. Tom and I have done quite a bit of work together on the business end of microphones, and we've done many scores where Tom has played on things that I have written. And probably the one that gave me the most pleasure and satisfaction and joy was my most recent album, which was released last year on Capitol Records. It's a slam bang album of original music, very jazz oriented, jazz rock oriented album, and it features Tom all the way through the entire album on various instruments: flute and tenor sax, soprano sax, and his sopranino sax, which is higher than his soprano sax. At any rate, this is the title cut of the album, and on this particular cut you will hear Tom Scott playing what he calls his grunt flute, which will be quite obvious when you hear him play this, why he says that. Actually, I think that was coined by Quincy Jones, but at any rate, then he will move into a trumpet solo by Marvin Stamm, who's a wonderful jazz trumpet player who resides in New York most of the time. And then towards the end of the tune, in the ballad section, you'll hear Tom again on tenor sax playing the ballad portion. And this is the title cut, Threshold. That was Threshold, and that featured, as I mentioned earlier, Tom Scott on just about everything. One of the interesting things about doing this album, for me, was that it was a multi-tracked album, and without really getting too technical, or I can hear you falling asleep already, it just simply means that quite a lot was done in overdubbing, so that I only used about 12 or 13 musicians, but when it was all put together, it totals up to about twice that many. And Tom Scott, who we're kind of featuring tonight too, played all the woodwind parts, not only the solos, but he played all the saxophone parts, all the flute parts, all the clarinet parts through the miracle of overdubbing, and was really quite an achievement for him, and one that gave me a great deal of pleasure too. We're going to move on now to a piece that I wrote for, this is a title song from a picture that was released last year called Herod's Summer. And this is a vocal for a change of pace. And one of the few times that I've gotten involved in lyrics as well as music. And this song is sung by Gene Redding, and it's called Living at Peace with Myself.
Living at peace with myself is hard to do. Smiling while my heart is crying is a lie. Seeking that peace with myself, I must grow. I must grow to find the answers I see for only me. Feelings are hard to explain, rush over, bring the pain, but I will survive with love in my heart and you by my side. Looking for peace with myself, oh, it's hard to do. Working and caring and sharing is my key. Living at peace with myself, I must grow. I must grow find the answers I see for only me.
Three different belly dance courses have been added to the dance and physical fitness program offered. Are you putting me on here? What are you trying to do? You're humiliating me in front of millions of people. Anyway, I guess they really are offered this through the community services in the Los Angeles Valley College. Classes begin June 23 and 25. Registration is now underway. For further information, phone Valley College Community Services at 994-3698. Well, I'm glad we did that. For those of you who are getting with us a little bit, my name is Pat Williams, and I'm the guest host tonight on Spotlight on a Star, and you're at KCSN Radio here in the Valley, and I'm as I have mentioned, if you haven't gathered, I'm a composer and arranger by trade, and am thoroughly enjoying the opportunity to play. And then I wrote, and I'm having a wonderful time here. I hope you're enjoying it. The next thing that I think we'll move to is a piece that I'm sure if you ran into every composer here who writes music for a living, he would have something in his closet or in his trunk that he was personally very proud of and pleased with, and for one reason or another didn't really get any real recognition or great acclaim, but nonetheless is something that's very special to him. Or her, my wife, or her. You have to add that. Every time you say him now, you have to say her. Anyway, this piece is one of those special ones to me. It was a piece written about 4 years ago, and I recorded it in New York. It's written for a solo cello and large string orchestra. Most of the strings were members of the New York Philharmonic. And there is some rhythm in the middle of it, but I was particularly pleased, and the cellist who plays the solo is a woman who lives here in Los Angeles, works in the studios quite a bit. Her name is Gloria Strassner. She played beautifully on this cut, and without being redundant, it is one of my favorites, and I'd like to share it with you. This is called The Silent Spring. And the last selection that you heard was from Tom Scott's first album on Ode Records, Tom and the LA Express. The first selection was The Silent Spring from my album entitled Carry On. We're getting towards the end of our hour here. I'm Pat Williams, and this is Spotlight on the Star from KCSN. And, I'm really kind of liking the mood we're in here, Dave. It's going all right, yeah. It's getting nice, and we're getting the lights down in here. It feels very good. We're going to progress on to James Taylor composition. This is from an album I did. Not that dark, Dave. Don't get carried away there, man. This is entitled Carry On. I'm sorry, Country Road. We're going to play Country Road. It's a tune by James Taylor. And you'll hear a couple of soloists on here. As I recall, this album is about 4 or 5 years old now. But I remember Marvin Stamm, I believe, plays a solo on this on trumpet. And Pete Chrislieb, who's our dynamite tenor player here locally, plays a tenor sax solo on this. This is Country Road. Country Road by James Taylor. Authentic Chinese cooking styles and films depicting China today will be featured on West Los Angeles College Community Services' The Chinese Adventure. The dining series will be held on 4 Wednesday evenings in July. Pre-registration is required before I'd like this, too. Dave is coming up with these good ones. The dining series will be held on 4 Wednesday evenings in July. Pre-registration is required before July 3rd. For additional registration information, call 836-7110, extension 274, between 8 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. The only problem with this spot, Dave, it says stop using July 2nd, 1973. I think you're I think you're a little behind here, man. I've enjoyed myself. I hope you all have too. My name is Pat Williams. I've been your guest host tonight on KCSN Spotlight on a Star. Next Sunday, Spotlight will start at 8 p.m., which will be an hour earlier, and your hosts will be Dennis Cox and Jane Platt. Denise Cox, I'm sorry, Denise. And I'm sure they'll have something great for you. I hear rumors that they're going to have John Lennon. Is that who you said? John Lennon? No. Anyway, it's been fun. I thank you all for listening. We'll close out with the theme that I've written, which is on a new release on Capitol. And this is the theme from the streets of San Francisco.
Station for the Valley.